So there are three pathways, but under each pathway there are what we call tracks. So in CBC, the first pathway is called STEM. So this is the first area of specialization for senior school learners in Kenya. And under each STEM, we have three tracks. So the first track in STEM is called the Pure Sciences. Pure Sciences. So this is traditionally the sciences, the major sciences like biology, chemistry, physics. We also have advanced mathematics here. So this is the first track. And then you have the second track called Applied Sciences. So Applied Sciences is the track where we find agriculture, computer studies, and also this is where we find home science. So there are learners that would want to take STEM specifically because they want to do agriculture or home science. They fall under applied sciences. And then the last track in STEM is called technical studies. So technical studies is a track that contains most of the artisan courses. Traditionally, they were taught in certificate colleges and middle-level diploma colleges. But now, in the current setup, quite a number of them have been brought back to senior schools. So this is where you have woodwork, you have here power mechanics, you have here metalwork, you have here media technology, and there is one very nice course there called aviation. So in CBC, when the learners reach senior school, they are supposed to specialize. If they come to STEM, then it is encouraged, though it is optional, that they specialize in one track. So they can choose either to take only pure sciences, in which case then they take the 4 compulsory learning areas, and then they take chemistry, biology, physics, 7. That particular learner has specialized in pure sciences. Another one can decide the 4 compulsory learning areas, and then they pick agriculture, home science, computer studies. That particular learner will have specialized in applied sciences. Then there are those who may decide the 4 compulsory learning areas. Then they take, for example, metalwork, woodwork, and power mechanics under technical studies. So they will have also specialized in technical studies under STEM. But then from each track, a learner is also allowed to pick. So they can decide to pick mathematics from here, computer science from here, and power mechanics from there. You see, that combination of maths, computer science, and power mechanics will be a very good combination for engineering. So they are still allowed to pick from each of the tracks, and then they have a total of 7. But that is highly discouraged because CBC is supposed to help in specialization. So in an event that a learner goes ahead and picks from all the tracks, then they are not specializing. So it is something that is discouraged. As a teacher, I would encourage that in probably learners that have very high ability. The average ones, I would always encourage them to just specialize in one of the tracks. Okay. So the second pathway is the pathway for social sciences, social science pathway. And social science pathway has got 2 tracks. It has only 2 tracks. So the first track there is called Humanities and Business Studies. Humanities and Business Studies. That is the first track in social sciences. And then the second track in social sciences is called the Languages and Literature. Languages and Literature. So, under social sciences, then a learner can decide to pick the traditional humanities. So this is where you find geography, history, religious studies, like Christian religious studies, Islamic religious, Hindu religious studies, And then you have business studies. Business studies is a very versatile subject. It's a learning area which allows student learners to either go for economics, go for commerce, go for accounting. It's quite versatile. And when you combine it with the humanities, it increases the chances of career possibilities. So, assuming, for instance, a learner takes geography and business studies, that learner can easily become a land economist, you know. So land economics is one of the most marketable courses today. But again, they can choose to take 3 humanities only: geography, history, religious studies. Or they can take geography, history, business studies. That way they specialize under this track. Then there is languages and literature. So they can also, there are those that would like to specialize in languages and literature, particularly those that are interested in journalism. So they can take the 4 compulsory learning areas, and then they take English, literature, and Kiswahili. So then they become linguistic experts. So those ones specialize here, but they are still allowed to take from this track and from this track. So they can pick, for example, history, and then they take history, English, Kiswahili. That becomes a very strong combination for law. So it depends on what the learner wants. They can either specialize in a track or they can pick across the tracks. Okay, so that is the social sciences pathway number 2. And then you have the pathway number 3, which is called the arts and sports science. So the arts and the sports science, arts and sports science has only 2 tracks also. So the first track there is called arts. So arts again is divided into 3. So you have arts here, you have arts there, and then you have the second track called sports and recreation. Sports and recreation. So there are 2 tracks under arts and sports sciences. So you have sports and recreation, and then arts. But then now, these 2 tracks, arts is subdivided into 3 again. So it has 3 subjects or 3 learning areas. So the 3 learning areas include, 1 is fine arts. This one has a lot to do with drawing. So there are learners who like drawing a lot. You like drawing, very good, either manually or digitally. There are those softwares for drawing and applications for drawing. So fine arts falls there. But then there are those who have got a talent in film production and acting. So those ones are also under arts. So arts is either going to yield fine arts, film, and theater. So in this case, then they deal with things to do with movie production, script writing, acting, live stage plays, scripted screenplays, etc. And then the last group is the one for singers, music and dance. So that one is still under arts. So it is important to understand that arts and sports science as a pathway has got 2 tracks. But then under arts track, there are 3 learning areas: music and dance, film and theater, fine arts. But then the other track, sports and recreation, doesn't have further learning areas. It just has different sports activities. So that is the build-up kind of for the CBC. So remember, from CBC, come to the 3 pathways and then come to the tracks. For STEM, 3 tracks. For arts and sports science, 2 tracks. And then for social sciences, 2 tracks.